Okay, problem number 13 says the points represented by the table lie on a line. Find the slope of the line. Okay, so we need to find the slope of a line. To find the slope of the line, you need 2 points. So they gave us 1, 2, 3, 4 points, but we don't actually need all 4 of them. We just need 2. So I'm just going to take the first 2, and we'll use those to find the slope. So the first point is -1, 6, and the second point is 0, 4. So I'll take a moment to write those down, and I just want to point out that this is an x value, and hopefully you could agree that it's the first x value that I wrote down. So I'm going to call this x1. It's the first x value that I looked at. This here is a y value, so I'm going to write that that's a y. And this is the first point I wrote down. So this is the first y value I looked at. So that's what it means when I say that this is y1. All right, so this is an x value, and this is a y value. And this is the second x value I wrote down, because I wrote the first one down over there. And this is the second y value I wrote down. So when I call this x1, y1, x2, y2, that's what that means, okay? So now that we've got that, now we can go to the slope formula. The formula for slope is to take the second y value minus the first y value, so y2 minus y1, and then to divide that by the x's. So then on the bottom it's going to be the second x value minus the first x value. So this is the slope formula. Another way of looking at it is rise over run. You've probably heard that before. Okay, so let's do this. So what is our second y value? Our second y value is 4. So 4 minus, our first y value was 6, so 4 minus 6. And then it says to take our second x value. Our second x value is 0. And then it says to put a minus sign, so minus. And then it says to write our first x value. So our first x value is -1. Notice that we have 2 minus signs in a row here. That's not a mistake. That's the way it should have been, because the first minus sign came from right here, and the second came from this negative. So sometimes you just have 2 of them in a row, and that's okay, all right? So let's keep going. Okay, so 4 minus 6 is the same thing as -2. And 0 minus a -1. If you have 2 negatives, that turns into a positive. So really, this right here is the same thing as 0 plus 1. So what is 0 plus 1? Well, it's 1. So a 1's going to go right here. And that is the slope of the line. Sometimes it's more helpful to have it written like this, -2 over 1, so you can see the rise over run. Or if the bottom is a 1, people usually just write it as -2. So I would probably say that the slope for number 13 is -2. But if you wrote -2 over 1, I can kind of see how you would have done that too. And that's how we find the slope. All right, so part B says, what is the equation of this line in slope-intercept form? Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit more work, so let's get to it. So the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. So that's y equals mx plus b, okay? So when we've filled these 2 numbers in, then we're done, okay? The first one, m, is your slope, okay? We literally just figured that out. So we know that this right here is -2. So I'm going to write y equals -2 x plus b, because we already figured that one out. So now we have one more thing to do, and then we're done. We're done when we can figure out what this b is, because once we can put that number in there, then we'll have our equation. So how do we figure that out? We've got an x and a y right here, and an x and a y are just like points. So we could just literally take one of these points and put it in here, okay? And we could put any point we wanted in there, okay? And it would work. So I'll take this point right here, and I'll use that one. So this 1 is an x value, so I could put a 1 right here. So -2 times 1. And this 2 is a y value, and the y value goes over here, so I'll put a 2 right there, plus b. And let's watch how this helps us. So let's try to get b by itself. So we've got 2 equals -2 times 1 is -2 plus b. Now to get b by itself, we'd have to take this and move it over here, right? So the opposite of a -2 is to add 2. Oop, I ran out of room. Okay, so on this side, we've got 2 plus 2 is 4. And on this side, these cancel out, and the only thing I have left is b. So now I know what b is. So if we go back to our original here, y equals mx plus b, we figured out in part A that the m value is -2. So y equals -2x plus b, and we just figured out doing this work right here that b is equal to 4. So instead of plus b, we can put plus 4. So this right here is the equation that would give us these points. Good work.